Okay, so we should be live.
Right. Did you actually watch the race? Hello.
Yes, of course I watched the race.
Which race did you not watch?
I watched all of them.
Fair play on you. I mean, I didn't watch any. No, full disclosure, didn't watch any of Formula 2, was it?
Yep.
Not a clue what happened.
Okay, well, that'll be a nice surprise for you.
I'm looking forward to it. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
I might put myself on a 1 minute timer, see if because I haven't actually timed the reviews, so I might try and do them on the 1 minute timer. Because I have got a 1 minute timer lined up for Charlie next time he's on, so I might use it for me, give it a test, see how it works.
I've just read your thing. That's quite funny.
Is it? It wasn't funny last week. Okay. Right, so for the gathering masses on YouTube, which is probably one person, it's probably Darren. Hi, Darren, if you're there. Should we let Ian in before we start?
Do you text him to tell him that we're on?
No, I put a tweet out and he asked what time, so I know he's wanting to watch it, so that's good.
Well, we're officially a minute to 8, so we're doing well.
Yeah, we're doing all right. We're doing all right. Yeah. So you can see the structure.
I've got no pen that works. Brilliant.
That's fine. You won't click it.
I've got a red one that hasn't got a clicky point on it.
Can't see it. It cuts out.
Does maybe? Oh yeah, because I've got the background on.
Yeah. Whenever you're ready.
Cool, I'm ready.
Okay, and obviously we'll introduce Ian, obviously, once we've done our build-up, but we'll just let him in, just do a quick hellos before we start the podcast. Okay, I'm letting him in.
That's the wrong folder. That's always good. Hello, Ian. Oh no, it's connected to audio. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
Really good.
Very good.
Great to see you. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Good. Good. We are live on YouTube now. This is what we call the pre-show. This is just like the preamble.
It's the bit where we never know what's going to happen.
We wait for a few people to turn up. If anyone does actually turn up on the live stream, which not many people do.
Thanks.
Then it's there.
That's nothing to do with you. They just don't anyway. That's down to us. But yeah, so we'll start the podcast. So you get to be on for the start and us messing up the intro because we tend to do a couple of takes on that quite often because we're that professional. But yeah, great. You better weekend then, wasn't it?
Yes, much better weekend and a better.
That was a lot better. Well done.
Really enjoyed that one. Actually, it was a much better watch, much easier watch, I think.
Yeah, I think it was also much more how we expected Extreme E to be. I think the locations, the sort of, let's say, overtaking opportunities, or the different tracks, I think that we ended up with a situation in Alula where it was just one track to follow.
Yeah.
And I think throughout.
There were so many ways you could have gone round.
Yeah, throughout the event in Senegal.
I don't think some of them knew which way the track was or which direction they were pointing in.
But I think that's
not looking at Bottas.
But that was the whole part about the Senegal. There was less flags, less of a defined route. It was not so necessarily easy to get lost, but there was many choices to be made.
Yeah. Anyway, let's save that for the podcast.
We'll talk about that in a bit.
Yep.
That's all this stuff.
No
right. So you get to hear the really blurry. It always comes out really bad on the live stream, but our title sequence, which I really love, but it's really blurry on the. It's always blurry.
Still
on the
no
YouTube.
Extreme E. Still no Formula E.
I still not put any Extreme E or Formula E sound effects in it. You know how busy
I keep moaning about it.
Yeah. I'll get them on at some point. Right, we good, Carl?
You're good.
Okay, let's go. There's your IndyCar.
That's just a V8 noise, isn't it?
Two cars in one corner.
There's your Formula 2.
Brits are lighting up this sprint race.
Well, that could be Formula 1 now with sprint races.
Yeah. Classic.
Oh God!
Classic.
Michael Schumacher hits David Coulthard and is out. George Russell.
Oh, poor Murray Walker.
Yeah.
Oh! Hitchcock with a big one.
That's a long memory ago.
Yeah. Welcome to the Monkeyseat, the podcast that was hitting wrong buttons to make things crash before it was cool. Listen to last week's episode to understand that reference. My name is Tom.
And I'm Carl, who's wondering if everything in life is now Bottas's fault. Oh, my dinner's gone cold. Bottas's fault.
Yep. We are a fully independent podcast hosted by two opinionated friends who like to We are a fully independent podcast hosted by two opinionated friends who like to put the words to rights.
You can find us on all You can find us on all major podcasting platforms by searching for Monkeyseat Podcast.
And you can get in touch with us by leaving us a 5-star review and you get a shout out on the show. If you want to support us, you can visit monkeyseatpod.com and make a donation to help us continue doing what we're doing.
You can follow us on all the socials at Monkeyseat Pod or visit our YouTube channel, which we're live on, to see all our muck-ups that we've just done.
Yes, and we have an extra face today as we have with us Veloce Supremo, Mr. Ian Davis. Hello, Ian.
Hello, gentlemen.
How are you doing?
Yeah, good to be back on.
Great, good to have you back on. It was. We're going to
start. Thank you so much for coming back.
Yes, definitely. Thank you very much. We're going to start with the Extreme E today. We'll get to the Formula One shortly afterwards. But Ian was travelling back from Senegal when we did our last podcast, so we weren't able to cover Extreme E last week. So we're just going to do a little section now, just a bit of a catch up, see how things do, and then we'll get to the Formula One probably in about half an hour's time. So great to have you back, Ian. Firstly, how did the repairs go?
Where did the repairs happen? Because I thought they were happening in Valencia, but then I saw something about Dakar.
Yeah, Valencia was gonna happen, but with all best played plans and all the rest of it. So we decided eventually that the best way and actually the most sort of cost effective way and everything else was actually to do it in Dakar. The staff were going in anyway, and a couple of the other teams, ABT, had some repairs, and Ganassi. So actually, we had one workshop that was kindly loaned to us by some friends of ours in Dakar, decent place. So we repaired all 3 cars together in that workshop, and we shared some staff, and the age-old thing of trying to keep the carbon footprint down, trying to save some money, save some flying some people around the world. So it's actually becoming quite a nice little family now. The group of 9 teams in the paddock, and we help each other out. And you have to in those remote environments. That's really great to see. I can't think of any other formula of motorsport where you would have members of the opposite team helping each other out. So that's... Rallycross, to be fair, was always very much like that, a very sort of paddock family-based environment. But I think it's with having so many little staff going to the event, that what makes you rely on each other much more and extremely, I think, than perhaps in other disciplines where you've got hundreds of members of staff going.
Okay, so what? Obviously, Senegal, completely different environment to what we saw in Saudi Arabia. What was the first thing that struck you about there that was different about Saudi Arabia?
It's Senegal is somewhere I've been a few times before. I actually was an engineer on the Dakar Rally with Jutta Kleinschmidt. Back in 2006.
The Dakar Rally was brilliant. Yeah. I mean, it's gone nowadays. It's now moves around.
Proper Dakar Rally. And actually, Jutta and I stood on the beach, and we were joking that 14 years ago, whatever it was, the last time we stood on that beach together. And in fact, the last time I stood on Le Clos Beach, I'd driven there. It wasn't even an aircraft. I'd driven from Europe down there.
Oh wow!
So,
jeez, that's some drive.
Yeah, it was 3 weeks. So Senegal, look, it's a classic West African country that has its own issues, let's say, in terms of pollution and being a country that's modernizing. At the end of the day, a lot of these places that don't have the length of time that we've had to modernize our societies, so they are now struggling between sort of feeding their own people and bin collection and trying to stop the pollution of the sea, and deciding if electric cars or solar electricity, other thing for them. So it was good to go there because I think we engaged the population in a lot of these conversations and the government that they'd never previously thought about. But it's remote. We don't have the niceties. The other good thing about Extreme is that we actually took on a lot of local accommodation. So around Lake La Croze itself, there's a lot of bed and breakfast places that were probably better 20 years ago than they are now.
Bit like Ireland. Sorry, no, not saying that.
So they actually did them up. They took them on as a group, put the painters and decorators in, and bedding and new mosquito nets, and cleaned all the little pools out and bits and pieces. Put a lot of money into the local environment. And what they were saying is, for example, when the Dakar rally was there, it was there for 48 hours. It drove in, did its finish line, everybody flew out. But a lot of the Extreme staff have been on the ground in Dakar for like a month, setting the place up. We poured a lot of money into the local economy. So as well as
I suppose it's one of those. Yeah, I suppose one of those things where it's more expensive to travel everyone to larger city hotels and things. I'm not even sure there is in Senegal.
And I think it's also the amount of time you want to travel. So you can go in and out of Dakar itself, and it can take you anything from 45 minutes to 2 hours a day each way to travel. Whereas we were a 5-minute minibus ride with a local minibus company backwards and forwards from our hotel. So I think that was the great thing about it. I think for me, the race aside, if we talk about the venue and the Senegal race itself, I think that's how I expected Extreme to be. Dakar was Alula was a more polished version of that. We highlighted things to the general public, but we didn't have the massive impact that we will have in Senegal. And I really hope that we're back in Senegal next year and we continue this journey with the people there as to physically making it. If you felt we were making a difference in Senegal.
Yeah, and it definitely seemed like that. And they showed the promotional videos and things, and it did seem like planting all the mangroves and bits and pieces, which all the drivers were doing. Seems like a really interesting and quite easy thing to do as well.
I think it's organisation. I think, and again, we've had to plant them in certain phases because of the time of year. It's like beach cleanups. It's unbelievable to see the amount of rubbish that washes up every day on their beach. Plastic after plastic after plastic. It's shocking, really, because most of us go on holiday to Tenerife or wherever it might be. Yeah. Other holiday places are available. And
not at the moment, they're not.
No, right.
We can't all travel the world like you can, Ian.
Oh, don't get me started. Don't get me started. I've got Test and Trace on the phone every single day, reading me the same speech at the moment. Now I've come back. But so no, it's really, you really felt that it was the place to go. It was really hot. The ambient was much hotter than Senegal, which caused us a few problems overnight with the batteries. Because obviously one of the sort of side effects of running electric cars is the battery temperature. So we discovered quite early on that we weren't starting in the morning with the same battery temperatures we were in Alula, because it was much colder in the desert of Saudi Arabia at the night time. So that was more challenging, let's say, in terms of our performance management.
Do you charge the batteries overnight and then put them in?
No, the batteries get charged in the day.
Okay.
But in Senegal, we had to cool them overnight. Yeah. So we have certain periods of the day that we're allowed to charge. It's not a constant trickle charge. And that's to do with the new way in which you produce electricity from the hydrogen plant.
Yeah. So which are really interesting. They're like containers for the power supply.
Yeah. And it's charging the big main battery cell in the day or overnight, so that we can pull off it in the day.
Oh, so it's constantly wearing away, charging a big battery farm, basically.
Yes.
And then
we all pull off on the big battery farm, so it needs its all night to do that.
So I noticed that the actual pit seemed to be different. Was your tent different to Senegal?
No, same tents. No, same tents. The same one.
Not Senegal, Alula, sorry.
Yeah, Alula. No, what I think we were a little bit the leaders in decorating the inside of our tent, let's say. And a lot of the other teams have cottoned on to the decoration of the inside of the tent in terms of advertising now. So a lot of teams have done up the inside of the tent instead of it just being.
All right, it just looked very different.
Yeah, they all look very different now. we're getting used to that. But no, it just, it was very exciting. And for us, having rolled in Alula in Q1 and finishing bottom of the table, we were looking for a decent result. And as you know,
let's talk about those results then.
Well, yeah.
Tom,
so
you got them there.
Yeah. So, firstly, I was just going to ask, what was the difference in format between what we saw in Saudi Arabia and what we saw in Senegal? What changes to the actual racing format, or was it exactly the same?
There was only one change.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there was 4 cars progressed to the final instead of 3. So we had 2 single qualifying races where the times were added together, and that gave you a semi-final position. And then 2 from each semi-final progressed to the final instead of 2 and 1 from the last race.
Right. So
was there a super sector? Is that new, or was that in the last race?
Yeah. Super sector's new. So
that's what I like, because I saw that super sector. I was like, I have no idea what this is, because I didn't watch all the qualifying. I only watched the semi-finals and finals. I was like, what the hell is this about?
The super sector is to give, I think, the teams that have maybe got nothing left to fight for in the 7th, 8th, 9th position, something to go at, keep the racing thing. So they're giving extra 5 championship points to the team that produced the best super sector. Now that's just the sector 2.
Fastest.
Well, it was the fastest sector 2 in this particular race. But strategically, that was quite difficult, because to do that, you need to use your hyperdrive, your boost button, your 4 seconds of double horsepower. But you wouldn't want to do that during the race, because you'd want to do it down the beachfront, either the start or the finish. So it really needed to be a team that, like Ganassi, that had nothing to play for, to use their super sector in that particular position to go after it. And it's designed in such a way that it's to give those teams that haven't made the semi-finals a chance to, haven't made the finals, a chance to gain some extra points.
No, it's. I mean, that was interesting.
Yeah, but we're developing.
Sorry,
I say we're developing the rules, not so much the rules, but the format. Let's say.
Yeah,
I think we're all quite open to discussion about making the racing format, interesting, challenging, making sure that teams don't give up, making sure that everybody's got something to fight for in every single race, because that makes better TV for the people that are watching. So I think we will get these sort of minor changes as the season goes on.
Yeah, I mean, so we get to the actual racing side of it, and I think you're in semi-final 2 when you've just got the results up here. It was JBXE, yourself,
Hansen,
and Excite. And I was torn, because obviously we're cheering for Veloce, but JBXE is also the second team that I was cheering for. So I got my wish.
They swap their drivers as well.
Yeah, Jensen.
So you can now swap your driver. There's no definite guarantee.
No, you could always swap your drivers. I think you can use up to 3 drivers in a season. You can, and that was brought in because of COVID and everything else. What will be interesting now is whether Jensen comes back or whether Kevin Hansen stays.
He was good, wasn't he?
Yeah,
I mean, Kevin Hansen's a great driver anyway.
Yeah.
Didn't he do the tests with his brother?
Yes, they were trying. Obviously, when they were trying to promote the whole thing, they were trying to get Hansens in, both being Red Bull athletes. And Timmy got the first drive, and Kevin did a decent job. Him and Michaela, But when we talk about the race, we went there with a different. I'm not saying that we didn't go to Saudi Arabia with a plan, because we definitely went to Saudi Arabia with a plan, and the plan was to win. But I think that we're now seeing that flat out approach doesn't work in Extreme. And I think if you saw the way that it planned out in Alula, certainly in the early qualifying rounds, Rosbergs weren't the quickest. They weren't the quickest, but they won the final. Yeah. And I think that you've got to race smart, and we race smart.
It's finding those tracks and those roads, isn't it? Those divots, especially those ones. But I think
we call it risk versus reward. So it depends how much risk you want to take for the reward you're going to get back. So ripping a wheel off the car because you've had to come in together with another car is a massive risk, for very little reward because you're parked up and you're not in the final.
The JBX did that at all.
No. So you have to pick where you're going to be brave, and I think that's become more apparent now. Having done one race, and it worked for us. Yeah, it worked for us. I mean, the final wasn't the most exciting final in the world with the two cars having come together, but at that point we were probably quite happy to be second. We were happy to be second, and there was a red flag and blah 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 in the final. But at that point, we were still happy to be second.
That's the question then. In that final, you were told to. I heard on the radio from race control, do not go into the pit, do not change.
Yes.
And then one team, not yourselves, changed. Was there a penalty or anything for that?
No.
Why not? Or is that something that's now going to be questioned? Because that rule was definitely set.
I don't think it's questioned. I think that we were very gracious to start with, and we didn't wish to pursue it. And I think that it was they were doing their best to put the race on the race director.
Yeah.
And they were trying to move cars off the track. They wanted us to hold in their bays. Whether we changed or didn't change,
I suppose it didn't make much difference to you.
That was my point. It didn't change the outcome of the race.
Yeah.
There was no distinct advantage. There was a little bit of confusion over the radio. I heard
it was confusion in presenters because I heard it and then they're like, why are they not changing? Why is Jamie not changing out?
I'm race control. Obviously, I have the race director in my head in the command center, so I had it direct from the race director. So I was calling no change to the team.
Yeah.
But it was not going to make, Johan won fair and square in the second round, and Molly came in front of us. I think there's a time and a place for that sort of thing. And to win it in the steward's room wasn't the right way to do it in Senegal.
Yeah, I think it kind of goes against like the very spirit of what you were saying earlier about everyone mucking in and helping out.
Yes.
You kind of want to win legitimately. You don't want to win on a technicality.
Yeah, and it was a complete technicality. Nothing moved. No one moved off or was ahead of it.
Yeah, and he's a very good race director, and he's doing his best. In those, again, he doesn't have masses and masses of banks of TV and all the stuff they have in F1 or Formula E. He's working over 10 also with limited TV resources and radio, and he's just trying to control it the best he can, Scott. And he's a great race director, and he did a really good job in clearing the track and putting the final on.
We've had a question on the live stream from one of our super fans, Darren. He's asked, do you have a different car setup for Greenland than what you had before? It
will have a constantly evolving car setup.
What sort of things are you changing from track to track?
Well, I think that we saw a difference in the sand and the dust. We were on a very fast track in Ilulu with quite the high speed bumps in Saudi, so the car would kick. We were on a much slower track in Senegal, for example. So things like rebound and spring rates are very different there. And you've got soft sand that digs and ruts on a frequent basis. Every time you go around the track is different. I think we've not been to Greenland. We've seen some aerial pictures and we've seen some drone footage of the area, but I'm expecting more of a gravel riverbed, for want of a better word, sort of fine gravel. And I think it will hold up and it'll be wetter. So I think in general it will be smoother. So we won't have the damping issues that we've had on the bumpier, sandier tracks.
Hopefully raining. I quite like a wet race. I'd like to see them in the wet.
Yeah, well, it's going to be wet from the point of view that the melting glacier, which is what they're trying to highlight, the water's coming off the glacier. So we'll be going through that. But I'm also told even in the summer, it's single figures in terms of, the air temperature. It's Sweden clothing for winter clothing for me for that particular event. So that's how the setup really changes in terms of the environments that we're going to. And we're clearly in single figures, not expecting to gain so much battery temperature that we were in the desert. So it might mean that we can run some more throttle response and maybe traction control that use up more power.
Talking about changing of cars, I mean, I noticed that the back of the X44 team wasn't there, the bottom diff.
Yeah, no, they allowed us to take that off during the race because of the damage it was causing and to increase the airflow into the car and to stop the sand build up.
All right. Was it off yours as well? I saw it off the number.
At some point it would have been.
Yeah. I didn't. I just noticed this one. I was like,
I think it was off hours after the Excite car kept hitting us up the backside. So during semi-final, in the semi-final too, we actually had a problem with our pit limiter button.
Mm-hmm.
So the wiring on the pit limiter button, the join in the connector was coming loose. So the pit limiter kept coming on. To be fair to Jamie, she twigged straight away that she could turn it off again. So it would come on, and then she'd have to hit the button, turn it off, and then 200 meters later, it would come on again over a bump. So every time that came on, we were going from 100 kilometers an hour to 30 kilometers an hour, and we get hit again. And then he'd go off again, 100 kilometers, 30 kilometers, we get hit again.
Oh.
So it wasn't actually.
All right. Because they mentioned about the pit limiter, but I couldn't work out what was going on.
Kept coming on. Yeah, I think.
So Jamie was having to whack a button as well as drive
I think
through.
For Stefan's run, we worked out that the pit limiter was on for 17 and a half seconds of his lap at 30 kilometers an hour. So it looks as if he struggled, but it was the pit limiter button issue or wiring issue than the loom issue that we had.
Wow.
So this is the first. Sorry, go on, Carl.
I suppose with the bumps that we're finding in all these races, we're going to have lots of little wiring issues and things, especially being a new car. And
it had been on its roof. It had been on its roof the race before, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, forgot about that.
We changed the chassis over and got the car ready, and you don't know how that got pulled, the driver getting in and out, it's connected to the loom and on the steering wheel and all that sort of business, and how if it got pulled or whatever, possibly. So it's the little things that you find out. But actually, it's remembered now, guys. I'm going to just go back a second. So I've got something exciting on the windowsill, which I'm going to show you, but I'll take the one earpiece off the reach.
Oh, has he got it? He hasn't got it, has he?
Monkeyseat exclusive.
Oh, he's got the award!
Hey, there we go.
Look at that.
Excellent.
I have to say,
that is cool. What is it? Plastic. It's
recycled plastic. It is.
Yeah.
But I have to say, Jamie, lover, she, after all the problems and trials and hassles of Saudi and all the work that we had to put in to fix the car in Senegal beforehand, she gifted me her trophy.
Wow.
I'm very proud of that. Sitting on the shelf in the I sit on the windowsill there in the office now. So that's the actual second place trophy from
Jamie.
Senegal. I've got a third under the desk. I've got a third place one from Rally GB. 2014 with Henning Solberg. I'm collecting all these. You never get, as an engineer, a first place one. A first place one always goes to somebody's cabinet. But I've got a bit of a collection starting now of second and third place trophies somewhere.
That is cool, though. It's a very cool trophy. I think that's a really cool one.
But that connects. The ethos is, they've got they had a trophy competition. Somebody designed it of recycled plastic, from the sea. All this stuff, sort of practicing what they preach at XC.
I think the Iceland ones are in glass, isn't it? If I remember correctly.
I've not seen it yet, but yeah.
I think I've seen some images of it, and I think one of it's in glass to be ice and glacier.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll get a number one. Hopefully we'll get a number one.
Well, we won't see it. If you get a number two.
If you get number two.
We kind of, in some ways, we kind of hope that you don't, because otherwise we won't see it.
Yeah, we'll have to get Stefan to give me his trophy the next one. Jamie won't take us home there at some point.
Brilliant. So obviously it was a much, much better weekend for you. You're off bottom spot now after not even taking part in the last final. So you're up above, up into 8th place now. So
who's in 9th?
It's Sarah Price and Carla Duke.
Right.
I can't remember what their team is now.
Chip Ganassi Racing.
Chip Ganassi.
Yeah. They've never been that far down in their lives, Chip Ganassi.
Yeah, after dominating the IndyCar and
But they had a difficult weekend again, to be fair. But I think we go back to the risk versus reward. Mm-hmm. I think that they calculated that they could still win the championship if they won everything, and they were very American, very gun-ho about the whole thing,
Yeah.
And in trying to win it all, they've won nothing.
Yeah.
So good friends of mine, they're
all or nothing
to us in the paddock. They gifted us their sand because we have this grid play. So people get to vote for who's on pole in the final. They made the final, and then you're up and down the back of the tents trying to do deals because the teams who haven't made the final have their sand from their grid play, and they get to pour it into whoever's jar that's left. So obviously people like Lewis gets masses of sand, and Carlos gets masses of sand. There's other smaller teams we don't get so much sand. To be fair, Ganassi gifted us their sand, and so did Excite.
Oh, really?
So we were
far going up the back of you as an apology.
Yeah. So we were pretty close. I've actually done a 10 side side of it.
Well, I'm excited to British team. That's Oliver
Bennett.
Ollie Bennett, isn't it?
Yeah, and I've done some work with Ollie before in rallycross.
So they're an English. So they're British team. So you know.
But Carlos Sainz, we got Carlos Sainz's sand, and one of our directors, the Formula E driver Jan-Erik Verne, Jeff managed to convince Carlos that because we were so low down in the points, that a gift of sand to us was like taking points off other people for the final. So we actually won grid play. Like we beat X44 to the grid play, which we never thought we'd do. So we actually
sounds like a lot of fun games. This of just
and I'm one of these people. I was dead against all this. You can't go messing around with bubbles. You can't be pouring sand in people's glasses. But I've been against this in meetings, and they're all laughing. I'm jumping up and down because we've won grid play. You know, I'm not saying I'm a convert, but we work the system.
Talking about that, like pole position, is there much difference to the pole positions? Like, is it just being in the middle? Is that the advantage, or being to one side?
Yeah,
I can't quite work out. So.
No, I think the middle. We chose the middle. We thought there was a slightly better surface to it in the middle. You don't want to get pinned on the inside and get pushed out over one of the early flags for a 10-second penalty. You don't really want to be the car that goes around the outside, for example, then stuck on the beach side because you've got to get back in. Middle was a fairly safe place for us to be, or the feeling was it was a fairly safe place for us to be. But on any of these things, it's all about how you get off the line and where you want to choose your hyperdrive. So if you want to use your hyperdrive, then the beach. You know, teams are clearing down the beach, and one car goes, and then you see next pushes their button, and they catch up again. You know, it's only any good if you have track speed.
Yeah, so it's part of the fun and games of this grid.
I think it's interaction. It's trying to get fans to vote, get people to actually influence. You know,
and other teams.
And then the other team thing I thought was very wacky, but it worked for us in. I think they'll see us as more of a threat in Greenland. I don't think we'll get much sand in Greenland, but we got it there.
So how far do you think you can go? So they're on 31 points, and are you targeting JBXC?
I'm not even looking at
points,
not even
or you're not going to look at it. You're just going to try and maximise each weekend.
I just think after the result we had in Senegal, that championship table became a non-priority for us. I think now it's about getting good results. It's about continuing learning. It's continued learning for us, and I think that there'll be different elements brought into the championship next year. We're not seeing any regeneration at the moment. In terms of electronics, I think that we'll probably get regeneration next year. Or it's certainly been talked about. So there's lots we need to learn about the cars as a new team into the series with no Formula E knowledge. So we'll continue to learn those lessons, and just trying to pick off the podiums, let's say. And then at the end of the season, that table will be what it is.
And is this a 5-year deal? Like, are they planning on? Is there, obviously we want this to keep going, but is there an amount of time as to?
Yep. There's a new roadmap that I can't share with you at the moment that we're discussing as teams.
No, of course.
To do with what changes get made to the cars over the next 5 years. Yeah. So there's a definite 5-year plan here.
5-year plan.
And I think it's always one of those things about how much they open it up from now a single make car. How much they open it up like Formula E. But that's got a little bit out of hand now. So I think they've learned that lesson. But it's opening the rules up enough.
I think part of the fun is to be single car, because what you're saying, that exactly like in Dakar, that you're all together and you're not fighting over the same bits of different bits of equipment. You've all got the same.
Yeah, and so I think that
it's just
they need to open it up enough to get commercial interested. Like anybody, we need to raise a lot of money to go racing. So I think things like opening up the bodywork like they've done for the Hummer, or for us to have a manufacturer, you can apply to make it look a little bit more like the front end of a vehicle, a little bit like NASCAR, I suppose, in that respect. Or, what they might do with some of the electronics or suspension going forward. I think it'll only be minor things like that. But
low cost stuff and
but I think little bits
low impact stuff as well.
Low impact stuff, but I think you need to encourage development or companies to come in to develop their products to support the teams that are in. So we're not going to see people making their own chassis and massive changes to the design and the look of the car. But I think there's little bits and pieces within inside the car that can be opened up to give everybody some commercial leverage.
Yeah. Get the brand seen as a bit more recognisable as well.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. Okay. Well, it's a lovely catch up. Thanks so much for coming on. We should probably move on. Just want to say good luck for next race out as well, obviously, and hopefully we'll catch you again later on in the season.
Perfect. Always welcome, gentlemen. Thanks for having me on.
Always welcome too.
Yes,
Thanks a lot.
Ian.
See you later, Ian.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Oh, hello.
Recording stopped.
I don't know why that's something does that.
I know we're live, but I need my coffee.
Sure, that's fine. I'll cut this bit out of the podcast anyway.
I need to go to get my coffee. So you're going to have to lively look at Tom's face. Or Tom's either going to escape and you'll be left with a blank thing. So I'm really sorry. I need my coffee and I don't know where my phone is. And that's weird. I don't know. I've not had a phone. But I wrote things on my phone to ask Ian. I was like...
Don't get me started on phones.
Anyway, bye. You can rant away.
I'm going to rant.
You're good at talking on your own, aren't you?
I'm going to rant about my phone now. So I should have had a new phone by now. But thanks to the delivery company, DPD, I don't. So DPD, other networks are available and encouraged. So DPD turned up with my phone when they were supposed to arrange a time to deliver the phone and swap it for the broken one, and they just didn't bother.
Are you still actually going on about this?
Yes, I am. And then when they said they come back the next day, and they didn't, and then they returned my phone to sender. So I still have the cracked phone, so I can't see the bottom half of the screen. Oh, that's the best. That's the best it is at the moment, where you can just about see it when there's no light. So it's frustrating and stressful because I can't do anything on the keyboard. So that's the trials and tribulations of my phone. But the competition winner of the Prediction League last year offered to give me the phone from the Prediction League as a backup phone. So thank you for the offer on that. My new phone should be here anytime. DPD decided they were going to return it to sender. Oh, they also took a picture of my garage and said nobody was in, couldn't deliver, and then returned it to sender. And my better half was...
I mean, your garage is at the bottom of your drive.
Yeah. So what did they knock on the
house upstairs.
Yeah, did they knock on the garage door and shock horror no one answered? You know, the fact that the guy had been there the previous day though.
Oh right. But you do have a front door on your garage. I know
that's because but it's obviously not a house because there's a car in front of it. It's obviously a garage, and you can see the one next to it as a garage. But anyway, so other networks are available and encouraged. So use TNT, use Parcel Force, use Royal Mail, use anyone but DPD. Oh, and Hermes. Don't use Hermes either because they're just as bad. I ordered a fountain as an anniversary present, and it came delivered completely smashed to pieces. So and that's. But I've got.
Hermes are the one that throw crap over the window doors, aren't they?
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying that they do. Oh dear, Mazepin might have to go and do military service. What a shame.
Oh well.
Anyway, moving on.
Cool. Let's move. So that's great to start on the Extreme E. It was a really enjoyable race. Sorry, it's a week late. Yeah, but again, Ian was travelling back, so he couldn't.
I got even questioned as to why I haven't put the Extreme E on.
That's great. It's good.
How did you notice we haven't talked about Extreme E?
It's good that people are noticing it, so and following it, and we're fully behind Formula E.
I really enjoyed
Extreme E. I almost got for a whole podcast without confusing Extreme E and Formula E.
It's Extreme E.
Right. So anyway,
I really enjoyed that race. I'm looking forward to Greenland. When is that? It's ages away. They're always ages away. That's the problem.
I will have a quick look, actually. Next Extreme E race. Wow. Yeah. August 29th.
June, July, August.
Stag do weekend.
Can we watch the stag do? Can we watch the race?
Live stream during the stag do.
Oh, let's do it. Live stream hungover. Extreme me.
What's going on? Oh dear.
Tom, all I can say is you made me dress in a clown and a high vis.
Yep, I did.
And writing all on me.
Yep.
Payback's a bitch.
Yep, it's fine. I fully expect it. I gave everyone at Carl Stagdo a Sharpie and said, make up a rule, and every time he breaks that rule, you're allowed to write on him. But Carl
Except
can't know what the rule is.
Any of the rules
Carl can't, so I think my rule was every time you mention your then future wife, I could draw on your face. And other people just like every time he says or every time he asks a question. So he ended up just
what was Andrew's? Because his was really convoluted.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was.
I don't know.
He was religious with it. He was like...
He was like, nope, drawing on you. Nope, drawing on you. Anyway, let's get back to motorsport. So we had a race at the weekends. I didn't watch it until 11 o'clock at night. Again, that's 2 in a row. I haven't been able to watch until really late. Get back and then go onto the Grid Talk Slack, and there's 270 messages on there. Yeah, I didn't read any of them.
We should get Ruby and that crowd on here. We need to get some more of that crowd on.
Yeah, well, George offered to come back on next time that you couldn't make
Ruby's
it.
offered to come back.
Ruby's offered to come on as well, and I think George is in the chat at the moment. Yes, he is. He's mentioned a couple of things as well. So
why is my chat not working today? Oh, there's George.
I don't know. Yes. Anyway, so let's get back to Formula One. I don't know how much of that's actually going to make the podcast. It's all a bit random. So should we do the 2-minute challenge?
Yes. Why not?
It clocked in at 1 minute 57 when I wrote it while I was at work earlier. So let's see if we can.
Thanks for the picture of your crotch.
That's fine. It's the iPad was resting on my crotch.
I like how the iPad, there's a picture of an iPad resting on some crotch, which I can't show you because the background will go.
No.
But I also love the fact that you sent me a voice message about Ian coming on today, and I didn't actually listen to it until 1908.
No, you didn't listen to it until you noticed that I sent him an email inviting him to a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, I was like, what's this about?
Anyway.
Oh, dear. I need
2-minute
to
challenge.
sort myself out. Right,
Here we
sorry.
go.
It's the 2-minute challenge.
There she is.
It's a bit delayed, that's what that is.
The Azerbaijan track had a reputation for being a Jekyll and Hyde Grand Prix, and this year's race combined all three previous ones into 1 and a bit races. Charles Leclerc held the lead from pole with Hamilton and Verstappen in hot pursuit. Norris fell from 9th to 12th and had a battle with his teammate for 13th, but managed to eventually hold position. Perez quickly put his bad qualifying behind him and climbed to 4th, and Vettel also managed to climb 2 places into the points. Hamilton drafted past Leclerc on lap 2 and then held Leclerc in the DRS, which allowed him to defend from Verstappen. Ocon retired on lap 4, with a sudden loss of power, and Norris was stuck behind a struggling Bottas in 10th. Verstappen made it past Leclerc, quickly followed by Perez, and Norris made the undercut work to be the first of many people to pass Bottas on that day. Yuki Tsunoda was told to push by his engineer, and then he told his engineer to shut up. I see those English lessons are working very well. Mercedes pulled the trigger and went for the undercut, and once again Hamilton got held because Gasly was in the pits, and then he was overcut by both Red Bulls. Vettel went long and overcut 3 cars to take 6th, and Sainz dropped out of the points after a driver error. The race then went quiet until the safety car was deployed for Lance Stroll having a left rear failure on lap 31. Some brief excitement at the restart bore no fruits, and the race settled down again. Verstappen was cruising to a certain win until lap 46 when he suffered a seemingly identical tyre failure to Stroll. With the race now certain to finish under the safety car, we thought the action was done, but Michael, I think I'm a rockstar Massey, dropped the red flag to tee up a 2-lap sprint race. With everyone on fresh tyres, Perez led the restart, but Hamilton got a far superior start and had the move done before turn 1. Disaster though, as Hamilton had accidentally switched his rear brakes off and sailed on at turn 1 down the escape road, gifting the win to Perez and dropping out of the points. The battle behind was just as exciting, with Vettel, Gasly, Leclerc and Norris all fighting over their respective positions, and Alonso remembered he was a racer and made up 6 places to climb to 5th. And finally, just for good measure, Mazepin then tried to kill Schumacher by veering into his path. There we go.
Oh, right. Admittedly, you got that in, but you did start before the clock actually started. Just saying.
No, I didn't.
Well, according to my earphones, it's very different.
Well, there must be a delay on the thing because the timing that I went was on.
I got beep beep, and you were off, and then it went beep beep.
No, it's obviously the audio you had was delayed because I didn't start it before, but it's fine because I'll just change on the podcast anyway. So
you're miles ahead. Either way, I mean, it was interesting at the beginning, then it got very boring, then it got all right again, and why they stuck at the safety car, kept going lapping around the safety car, I'll never know. And then it got very exciting at the end.
Well, I have no issues with the safety cars because they were clearing up mess and debris and stuff.
No, I don't mind. Sorry, no, I have no issues with the safety car, but I would have just pulled them all into the pits and got it tidied up. It's more interesting. I think I get the safety car.
I prefer red flags to safety cars.
That's one thing. I don't get the point of going round and round under a safety car where you can't. Well, there's no race. There's nothing exciting. There's no driving there. It's just getting the laps in, and it's just like, well, that's. I mean, how many times did they go around? 4 times.
I think more than that. I think they did 6 or 7 laps under the safety car.
Then, but that's just wasted time of A, racing, B, audience enjoyment. And I don't care about your red Ferrari. If it was the green Aston, it might be slightly different. I don't care about your red, not Ferrari, your red Mercedes. So, like, just cop on.
Yeah, I prefer red flags and restarts, definitely. I prefer red flags and restarts because then you get more actual racing.
I wouldn't have minded if they wanted to red flag it and then do a safety car restart. That doesn't bother me. I just feel like it's just a waste of. It's like
you're losing racing. I agree, but I think this it probably comes down to TV as well and sticking to schedules and things. So that's got to come into it as well. So I can see why they think, well, if they keep them circulating around, then it's just going to be a slower race rather than actually just like stopping and starting all the time. So I can see both sides. I
completely agree with, like, if there's debris on the track, absolute safety cars, they make sense.
Damaged barrier, 100%, definitely stop the race for that because you can't have someone then going into, because if someone's crashed there, that means someone else could crash there. What was interesting was
there was no damaged barrier at Stroll's crash. But I suppose because it's all concrete on that track, isn't it?
No, to be honest, there was the only reason that they threw the red flag was because Massey will be saying that it was because we were worried about further tyre failures. But the speed they were going, there were going to be no more tyre failures. And even if there were, they still probably could have carried on because they're going so slow. But that was to preserve the finish of the race and then do
which I think was possibly the right decision.
Well, for the action it was, yes. The purists of Formula One would hate it, but because they say they'll say, it should have finished under the safety car. But
why? That's even worse.
I know.
It's
and
like
races have
of endings.
I mean, how many races have finished behind the safety car in Formula E this year? It just kills races.
I know. And how boring is it? It's like
it is boring. It is boring. I completely agree.
It just. But I hate it, Charlie. I hate that Formula E finishes under safety cars constantly at the moment. And starts under them and has them in the middle.
Yep. But again, that Mini. Just keep showing off that Mini.
Roll out the Mini. This is got a roof.
Roll it out.
This is got a roof.
Oh, you and that pig in roof. But it was, I didn't really have any major issues with that. Just as a race as a whole, Baku, I think I've decided, because I've all been undecided about Baku, I think I've now decided what I think about it. I think it's a race for action. It's a race for like explosions and things, but it's not a race for racing. There was no racing that happened. You don't have wheel-to-wheel racing at Baku. You have DRS overtakes and left angle turns, which isn't, for me, it's not the racing I like to watch. I like to watch people, going side by side and then doing a cutback and then, having that kind of sweeping racing that you see at Silverstone and other races like that. This is just
Baku is a race. Baku is a race for the likes of my wife, who's getting into Formula One, but likes that excitement. It's a race for me as well. I'm understanding
it has a place,
but it's a great race. It's an exciting race no matter what. You're waiting for them to hit corner 14. It's one of those, or corner 3, and you're waiting for them to go off on the runoffs. Qualifying really sent that up as well with what happened in qualifying.
Speaking of which, you said I need to apologise to your wife because I belittled her for saying that Leclerc wasn't going to be quick. I would like to point out I was actually right because he was not quick in the race. He had a car set up for qualifying.
Yeah, but I still think you need the apology.
Anyone can get a toe and put a quick lap together. I
still think you need the apology.
Okay, I'm sorry, but you were still wrong.
That's an old one. I've heard that one before.
Yep. No, it's the Ferraris. I mean, how should we do this? Because there's a lot to unpack. Should we just go through the teams one by one and just sort of talk about them?
Do you know what? I was wondering why there was no talking points, and I've actually gone, oh yeah, there's a line that says go to each team top race.
So I think if we start
from top to bottom or from bottom to
top? Let's start at the bottom. So if we look at, we'll start then. So the last finisher was, the first retirement was Esteban Ocon. Nothing to really talk about his race. It was just it just ended very, very quickly.
Nothing happened. Why did he go off? I can't remember.
He lost power. But then Alonso showed some steel towards the end there.
So Alonso was really interesting. I feel like I'm suddenly on grid talk now, going with the teams. Alonso was really interesting. He did a really great... he did a great race, and it was a bit surprising. He's coming into his own there. I think Ocon would have still kicked his ass had he been in the race.
Potentially, but I think...
And no, Bez, he is not the driver of the day.
Do you know what?
Clarify that.
Obviously,
Bez, clarify that.
Bez sent us a message, obviously, and I hadn't seen the race because I was somewhere else. And he sent a message just saying, "Wow, what a race!" So instantly, I was like, "Right." So Hamilton didn't finish, and Alonso did well. That's how I knew that Hamilton wasn't going to win the race, and something was going to happen to him. And I knew that Alonso was going to do well, based on that. Because Bez would not say the race was good if Hamilton did well and Alonso didn't do amazing. So, thanks for ruining my fun.
You ruined the race.
But yes, he showed some steel there. Like Alonso's at his best when he's attacking like full pelt and not even like just going for it. And for those 2 laps, he could just go for it and not have to worry about tyre saving or fuel saving and everything. And he showed that he's still got that cutting edge when it comes to wheel-to-wheel racing, like just pushing flat out. So that was promising. So I was glad to see that. Because it was becoming a little bit embarrassing. So it's going to be good to see if that confidence grows and if he can now push that forward. So that'll be interesting to see. So next,
and he'll still go backwards because he's useless. But we won't worry about that. He's past it.
So next was Aston Martin with Lance Stroll. With his retirement on lap 31.
Again, this. Do you know what this is? This day is apart from. There will be one team which hasn't. But literally, you've got one decent racer and one crap racer. Yeah. All the way through. And they're not what you think they're going to be either.
Yeah, pretty much.
This is, again, so we had Darling Stroll.
But he was racing well. He was doing well because that strategy of starting on the hard tyre, running long, I think he would have been, had his tyre not exploded and the race would have run normally, I think he would have been finishing probably 7th or 8th, and then Vettel would have been 4th, assuming Verstappen's tyre hadn't blown. If the race had panned out as it looked like it was going to, there would have been like 4th and 8th, which, considering where they started, was it 11th and last? That's a good day at the office for Aston Martin. They're definitely showing that the car's decent, and Vettel especially is getting on top of it. And the second place for Vettel, I thought he was going to win it at one point. I honestly thought he was going to win it.
I didn't think he would. I thought he was a good attempt, but I didn't think he would. I think 11th to 2nd. Legend on that one, showing his true racing form, and he raced that. He won those places fair and square. Apart from two places, but we were, because of retirement, or 3 places because of retirements.
He qualified
even if he went from 11th to 2nd, and you take out those 3 places, he still went across 8 cars.
Yeah, he missed out on Q3 But this is a great example of when someone misses out on Q3, it actually benefits their race, because he started 11th on fresh tyres, brand new soft tyres, and it meant that he had a brand new set of soft tyres to use in the race as well. So as a result, that meant he could go longer. He had 7 laps younger tyres when he swapped onto the hards, and he was chasing Hamilton. He would have been on the back of Hamilton, because as well, the other thing is Verstappen retiring from the race. If he hadn't, I think Perez probably would have retired, because of the hydraulic problems that he was having. Anyway, we'll get to Red Bull in a bit. But I think that as a result of that pushing, Vettel pushing on the back of Hamilton, he was putting the leaders under pressure. He was never going to challenge Max if Max had stayed in the race, but he was there pushing and up there genuinely on pace, which was great to see. And good to see that Aston Martin are putting it together.
Even whatever, I think he would have got 4th, whatever happened.
Yep. Yeah, he was 4th on merit. That was his genuine finishing position.
Yeah, so that's a fair race that he's had, from 11th to 4th.
Yeah,
I think so. That's now 2 races in a row he's won driver of the day.
Yes, well, official driver of the day. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
I think.
Official.
I don't know if he got. Did he get? I mean, we gave it to him for Monaco, but did he get driver of the day for Monaco? Did he? Okay, cool.
I'm sure. I'm 99.9%.
I can't remember. I can't remember, but
I'm sure.
But yes.
But I wonder if the new team has just gelled and everything's making sense for him.
I think he's now got to grips with the car. I think he's got to grips with the car now, and everyone was, well, not everyone, but various people were saying it's need 5 races before you've really got to know the car. Vettel had no time in practice at all. I mean, you're only looking 2 races that Stroll's been better than Vettel, and everyone was saying that Stroll's better than Vettel. Like, no, it's 2 races. There's 23 races this year. Let's see a bit more towards the end of the season. I always said, see how it pans out over the whole season, and we'll see. And where
Stroll's been in that car.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same car as last year, bar some small changes. It's basically the majority of that car. This is what I'm saying about Ricciardo struggling and Perez struggling. Of course it's going to be harder for the new people because they've got the same chassis as last year, which means the teammates are going to be so much further up the road. It's different.
Still Alonso shit.
Oh yeah. YouTube.
Oh yeah. There we go. So we. Yeah, no, I think that Vettel is going to be better than Stroll. My question
he's
always is going to be, what happens when they're on level pegging with the new car next season?
Oh, yeah,
Stroll's
going to be completely put in the shade.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't know what Drive to Survive are going to do, because I'm pretty sure Lawrence Stroll is paying Drive to Survive.
Why?
I'm absolutely certain of it. You just look at the first few episodes. It was so Aston Martin centric, and Will Buxton, the way he worded his questions. Lance Stroll, what is it that makes you such a good driver? It's that's come straight out of Lawrence Stroll's paycheck. That has. It's right, Will, I'll give you two grand if you ask this question on Drive to Survive. Because then that's then all these people coming into Formula One have got this pre-defined notion that Lance Stroll is such a good driver. When he's not. He's a good midfield driver because he's had so much experience. So much experience. Sorry, rant over.
Ooh, someone went on a rant and it's not me for once.
Yeah, this rant is sponsored by Sponsors for Racing. Sponsor a young driver to get into motorsport. Sponsorsforracing.com. We need to speak to
yeah, we haven't done that in a while.
We need to speak to Matt. We need to just speak to Matt and find out what more we can do for each other, because we haven't really done much for them recently. I feel a bit guilty. So Sponsors for Racing. Sorry. Sponsor some young drivers. Get them into motorsport.
Oh, right, come on.
Red Bull. So
I was thinking, how's Red Bull come next? Of course, Max.
Because it was Max Verstappen. The strategy worked brilliantly and perfectly and exactly how they panned out. And when I mean exactly how they panned out, I mean stopping Perez early so he didn't jump Verstappen, and then being slightly long on his wheel so he didn't jump Verstappen, and then came out just in front of Hamilton. That was all pre-planned.
Yeah, of course it was. The whole... I mean, there is a 1 and 2 in that team, and they know it. We all know it.
Yeah, no, they played it well, and it's annoying. I was frustrated because at that point in the race, that was before Emily gave up and went to bed. She literally went to bed just before Stroll went out. But anyway, so I just got distracted because Laura's put a comment in the chat.
Yeah, I've just read that as well.
Yeah.
I got distracted as well.
Yeah, because she's mentioned about Stroll. So yeah. No. Anyway, go away, chat. You distracted me. What was I saying?
I've got it open. So
Verstappen. I can't remember what I was saying now. I was talking about Verstappen and Perez.
Verstappen,
yes,
the
so
drivers,
Perez,
1 and 2.
Yeah, so Perez was going to overcut. He was going to overtake. He was going to overcut Max Verstappen. One more lap, and he would have come out ahead of Max Verstappen. Well, he probably wouldn't have because he had a slow stop. So they would have just made it even slower to make sure that he didn't come out ahead of Verstappen. But still, I was a little bit annoyed at that. But again, that's no different to what Mercedes have been doing for years. They've made sure that the drivers didn't get an unfair benefit, and that the first driver who makes the stop always gets the best stop. So, whoever's leading, it's not just always been Hamilton, it's been whoever's leading, whether it be Rosberg, Bottas, whatever. It's been whoever's leading has got the benefit of the doubt. So, yeah, they executed a perfect weekend, and through no fault of their own, Verstappen didn't finish the race, and Perez just finished the race. Can you imagine?
I feel sorry for the Red Bull. I feel sorry for Horner, because imagine losing your dream, your boy in Max Verstappen, your number one, and then winning it with your number two. Like the drop.
But they've won the race.
What was interesting was Perez turning around to Horner turning around to Perez going, enjoy it up there with Gasly.
Yeah, because obviously he's on the Red Bull. He is paid by Red Bull, so
yeah. But it was just the way he said it. It was just a bit like,
go up there and enjoy it.
All right.
Yeah.
Go and enjoy it with the person whose drive you probably stole.
Yeah, I think I saw. I think it may have been George that sent it actually. The one that had the whole podium up there, and it had written above each of them, above Perez, sacked by Racing Point, above Vettel, sacked by Ferrari, and then above Gasly, sacked by Red Bull. And you've also got Vettel there, left Red Bull as well. So all three of them were ex or current Red Bull drivers.
Oh really?
Yeah, because Vettel obviously used to race for Red Bull, and so did Gasly.
Oh yeah. I forgot that there is a Red Bull.
So George Russell was classed as a DNF. Went round. We never really found out what happened to him. They went round to the grid for the restart, and he just pulled into the pits. And literally, I thought it was Latifi pulling in for his stop and go penalty.
Oh yeah, so did I.
But it wasn't. It was.
Did
Russell.
he ever do that?
Yes, he did, because he didn't do the stop and go because they only had one lap, so they just added 30 seconds on at the end of the race, which is what happens if you don't do it. Which is why, according to the standings, he finished behind Hamilton, even though he finished ahead of him on the road. But the frustrating thing for George Russell, they probably didn't realise this at the time. Obviously, if he'd have been able to carry on, he would have got 13th place. And now, because Mick Schumacher got 13th place, Haas have moved ahead of Williams in the constructors.
Ooh.
Because none of them got any points, so it goes on highest finish. So if you've got no points at all, then it goes to the next highest position. So normally it's a race to 11th. So whoever can get an 11th place.
I know we'll talk about this later. Well, I don't know. We might. Yeah, we'll probably talk about this later. But Laura sent me a WhatsApp. I love having a wife that's into Formula One.
Yeah.
It really helps life. But she sent me a picture of... if I can even find it. No, I can't find it. This is awkward now.
But just to carry on,
it is. Go on. So go on.
We've obviously got some kind of time delay here because. Go on. You go on with yours. You go on with your point.
Right. So penalty points, which we'll get to. Mr. Norris, your boy, has 8 penalty points. Yeah.
We'll get on.
We'll get back onto this. No, what's depressing is the fact that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people with more penalty points than Mazepin. Yes,
but what you've got to remember with that as well is Mazepin is at the back of the grid, nowhere near anyone. So the only times he's going to pick up penalty points is if he's being lapped. Or he's fighting
Russell,
his teammate.
Who's also at the back, has 6. And
hang on.
Nicholas Latifi, who is also at the back, has 3.
Yes, but you've got to remember as well, this is a 12-month period. Mazepin's only been in Formula 1 for 3 months.
Okay.
So this is since last June Well, obviously the season started in July, so this is since last July. It's in the last 12 months because they last 12 months. So, but yeah, Mazepin's not going to get 12 points this year because he's not, unless he needs to basically be picking up a penalty every weekend to end up with getting a race ban. And I don't think he will because he's not close. He's not close enough to anyone. The only way he's going to get penalty points is if he's getting in people's way, which he does do a lot. But what? Yeah. I mean, we'll move on to the now. I mean, before we do it, we'll just touch on the Latifi penalty. That was. Did you see that? That was unbelievable from the pit guy, the engineer.
The Latifi penalty.
Yeah. So he was coming in on the red flag.
Oh yeah. What was that? I mean,
and then the engineer goes, "Stay out." No, I didn't mean stay out. I mean stay out of the pit box. Oh my God.
Then no, but the whole thing with that, which really annoys me, the reason they go box, box, box is so they can say don't come into the pit, come into the actual pit box, so that they can go through the pit without saying the word pit. Does that make sense?
It's not Latifi's
That's the reason
fault.
we have box.
Yeah,
it was just like that. It was just such a cock and bull from. Stay out. Well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Of course it means stay out.
Yeah, especially as he was on his way into the pit at the point. Yeah, he was actually in the lane to come into the pits, and then the way he said "stay out, stay out, stay out," it was like, "Oh no, don't come in." And you've always got to do what your team tell you in that scenario because they can see everything. So that was terrible from Williams. Bad Williams, naughty Williams.
They didn't have a good race, did they, Williams?
To your room with no dinner.
I mean, they called someone in, and then I don't know what happened with Russell. If anyone can
so he retired.
write to us and let us know what the hell happened to Russell, that'd be grand.
So then we got Mercedes, 12th and 15th for Mercedes. So Bottas beat Hamilton, second race in a row. Well done, Bottas. He's really turning this season around.
Has he given up? I mean, right. Let's. Which one do you want to talk about first, Hamilton or Bottas? Because I can riff onto both of them.
Let's do Hamilton first because he was the fourth. He was the
lies. There are so many lies with that man.
What lies?
Oh, they're so much faster than us on the straight. No, they're not. You're just saying that to excuse yourself. Oh, I don't know what's happened. I hit a button. What? You've never hit a button in your life. Why are you saying it's hit a button? And why is it okay for you to hit a button now, but when it's someone else hitting a button, it's not okay for them to hit a button, and it's all their fault. But if Hamilton hits a button, oh, he hit a button. No, you just shit. You drove forward. You didn't hit your brakes. The brakes worked. I don't understand this button thing. I don't get
it. Can I give you a rebuttal?
A rebuttal?
A rebuttal. My rebuttal. No,
rebuttal indeed, Squire. Yeah.
Right, if you see where he braked for that turn before Perez did. There's no way would he have locked those brakes had his brakes been performing correctly. You saw the smoke.
They were on fire.
Oh, no, let me finish. You just had your rant. You let me finish, okay?
Don't be in Hamilton's corner here.
I am in Hamilton's corner in here. He made a mistake.
Reasoning?
He made a mistake. It's a driver error because he pressed a button that he shouldn't have done on the steering wheel, which then resulted in him not making the corner.
If anyone else hits a button that's wrong,
no, it's his fault. Absolutely, it's completely his fault.
But no, there's nothing.
It's not his mistake. It's the same as taking a turn wide and going off track, or missing your box, or turning into somebody and causing a crash.
Sorry, Bottas missed his box by an inch. And it was all his fault.
That wasn't his fault. That's Toto being a dick.
I know. But now it's Hamilton hits a switch, screws over their championship. Let's be honest, because now Red Bull are so much higher in the championship. And it doesn't. Don't worry, darling. And the irony being, Hamilton. Oh, don't worry, guys. If we've just got to have a clean race and get round here.
Right. Okay. So Hamilton.
That's fine. Do that. Just get around the track.
Hamilton, as we're pulling up on the grid, he was saying this is a marathon, not a sprint. Basically, what he was saying was he's not going to risk versus reward, like Ian was saying earlier. He's not going to take on a do or die overtake. He got a phenomenal launch off that line on the way around to the grid. You saw his brakes
went on.
You saw his brakes were smoking at the front end, and that's because he had the brake magic on, which was basically 90% forward brake bias, which meant that he was putting so much temperature through those discs into his tyres, because he had hard tyres, remember. Everyone else had soft, but he didn't have any brand new soft.
If you were Hamilton, would you not realise your car's on fire?
No, it's fine. That's what he was intending to do, because as soon as you pull away, it puts them out. It's not going to damage the brakes, because it's only surface fire. It's fine. It's only if it sits there for a long period. He knows that within 15 seconds he's going to be gone. It's not a problem. So he's putting so much temperature through those brakes to heat up those hard tyres. He got an incredible launch off the line because he did such a good outlap round to the grid. So that meant he got great bite off the tyres. He was all the way alongside Perez and actually ahead of him going into turn 1. He braked earlier than Perez for that turn, but because where Perez had just moved across, he's had to just put a slight correction on the steering wheel. He's then knocked that switch back on again. Again, his fault, driver error. It's a mistake he's made. That meant that when he's braked, he's put full force on it, and the front brakes have locked because the bias is fully on the front. There's no rear brakes whatsoever, and he just sails on. So yes, it's a driver error, but it's an honest mistake. It's not like he didn't outbrake himself. He didn't go for a do-or-die overtake. He broke earlier than he would have done in a normal situation because he had the move done. All he had to do was cover the apex and make it around the turn, and he had the lead of that race and a certain race victory. But because he knocked that switch, that meant that he sailed off down the escape road, and that was his race done. So, yes, it's a mistake. It's not him saying, oh, let's be careful, and then just basically doing a dive bomb into the turn 1. It's not like that. So that's my rebuttal.
Your rebuttal. I mean, it still lies. There's so many lies in that team. I just can't keep up with it.
Toto, on the other hand, is pissing me off at the moment.
I just think I think that's part of it. Actually, on the Hamilton thing, grand. This whole magic button thing. Yeah, okay, I get it. I understand it. It's a bit weird that he's managed to hit it on and off, and and.
I
don't quite get, like, if he just said he left it on, it makes sense. But then he's saying he then took it off, started, and then put it on again. I don't believe that. And
on the steering wheel, right? You've got all those dials and rotary switches.
I'm not denying that. Yeah,
but all those dials and rotary switches. Now it's not like you've got. It's not like you've got just a load of buttons and you just press whatever button it is. He's only got like sort of 4 or 5 knobs, and you set them to certain positions and press the buttons. So given that he's just done his run round to the grid, it's already going to be set to that rotary. So he might, in a normal situation, maybe he has to just switch it around to like blank it off so it can't be hit. But because of the situation he's in with the start, he's not done that. It would probably be that once he's got through turn 1, he then would have to switch something else to then cover that switch up so you can't knock it.
I disagree with that because you're only ever going to use the brake magic at the start anyway.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, maybe it's something that he then kind of, because he doesn't have time.
Put him in this corner.
So much other stuff that they have.
Anyway, I'm over Hamilton. I'm over it. Okay, let's agree to disagree.
Okay.
And on that one, there was another fuckload of drivers, and
stop swearing on YouTube.
And why not? I swear I hear loads of people swearing. Have you not seen like YouTube videos? There's like people like fighting and swearing, and it's all like normal. Anyway.
I suppose it is the evening, isn't it? So we can probably get away with it a bit more. We're post watershed, so
and our thing comes up with an adult warning. Maybe we need to have an adult warning at the beginning of this.
Yeah, we could do, I suppose. Anyway, Bottas. What the hell?
Who the hell? Well, I mean,
what is going on with Bottas?
Well, I think he's checked out. Well, as someone said, checked out. I think he's left and gone and not even checking out. He's just exited via the back door as fast as he can. I don't get it. It's completely crazy. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know whether he's just can't be asked anymore, but that just doesn't feel like Bottas. I don't know whether he's just having a bad race. I don't know whether he's having a bad setup or whether he's just getting so pissed off with Toto like the rest of us that he just doesn't give a shoot.
It's a strange one. I know that he was, obviously they were both struggling with setups, and then Hamilton managed to turn it around and Bottas couldn't. Bottas was going for a because you know what I was saying earlier about how Leclerc... But
he's missed a Saturday and he didn't even start.
Yeah, but you know how earlier when I was saying about how Leclerc had a setup that was quick for qualifying, he went for a lower downforce setup, which you get more straight line speed to cover up the inefficiencies in your power unit, basically. Bottas went for a similar setup to Leclerc, basically going for the outright pace, but he couldn't get the right balance. So then when it got to the race, it was even worse. Because how I always say about how Bottas always sets up for qualifying, he was going for a qualifying setup, which meant it was even worse in the race. Whereas Hamilton went for a race setup and then just bossed it, somehow getting it up into second place, and also giving Leclerc an amazing tow, which basically gave him pole.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me if that was almost semi-planned. It's like, we're not going to get pole, but if I can get Leclerc ahead of Verstappen, then it means that Verstappen will be on the dirty side of the grid and I'll be in third and I've got a good chance of getting him. But as it turned out, he ended up getting second and beating Verstappen.
I mean, Laura has made a very valid point. Is it that the Mercedes are not right for road races, races, and actually when we get back in Ricard's, we'll be fine?
It's a more traditional Mercedes track, Paul Ricard, Austria, those types of tracks. They're more traditional Mercedes tracks because of the drivability of the Mercedes engine through the fast corners. Yeah. They are much more of a fast corner type drive. Monaco is an anomaly. It's just, there's just nowhere to push that car. So you can have the slowest engine on the grid and still have the fastest time in Monaco. So you just forget about Monaco. It's an anomaly. But yes, Baku. I mean, Mercedes have won, I think there's been 4 previous races in Baku, and I think they've won 3 of them. Yeah, Rosberg, Hamilton, Ricciardo, and Bottas. Yeah, so they've won 3 of them. But I think that's more just down to the fact that they have been so far ahead. There's not been a race there, not in the turbo hybrid era. So they've always been ahead at that point.
Also, that this whole, admittedly, the raking system, ironically, the Mercs aren't on there and the Aston Martin is. And whether the high rake, low rake cars make a difference here. And also whether Mercedes, I mean, what was interesting was the 2 different wings on the rear of the Bottas's and Hamilton's.
Yeah, so that's what I was just alluding to earlier about the different car setups. But yeah.
Sorry, I thought you meant setups in the sense of software setups, which often,
No. When I say setup, I mean like spring settings and downforce and wing settings, all that kind of thing.
I mean, the wing setting was quite an obvious one this time.
Yes.
Just a bit like, I just feel that's a bit like, I mean, why? What are they trying to suggest that one car is better than? I don't quite understand.
No, it's just down to driver preference. However you want to set the car up for drivability, the setup is tailored to that. It's not like one's better than the other. It's a different option. You either go. It's like when you play Mario Kart. Do you go for Yoshi and get a fast in a straight line, or do you go for Bowser, who's painfully slow but then incredibly quick?
It's all about Sonic racing in this house at the moment.
No. I like
Sonic racing.
I like Crash Team Racing. Me and Emily play Crash Team Racing.
No, all about Sonic racing at the moment. My boy is obsessed with it. I'm like,
you can get Crash Team Racing on PS Network.
I know.
It costs like $5 or something. It's brilliant.
I'm just like, no, but he loves Sonic, so he's obsessed with Sonic anyway. So I'm just like, does this mean I can get him into racing?
Yes, get him into racing, and I will be his driving coach. And he will never get anywhere.
Yeah.
Anyway,
he's not the best at driving. He thinks he's winning all the time when he's actually.
He takes after his dad. Victory sip. Anyway, Haas. They were at the back, slow.
I love how we're at Haas. And we've gone through all these other cars.
Yeah, they were at the back, slow, but then craziness happened, and then they weren't at the back.
But still slow.
I mean, to be honest, the only cars they've beaten are Hamilton, who went straight on at turn 1 and only had 1 lap to catch up to them. Latifi, who had a 30-second penalty and started, alongside them or just ahead of them. And that's it. That's the only ones they've beaten. So they were still effectively last. And Mazepin tried to kill Schumacher. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't actually seen it. I heard that Gunther Steiner put out a press release saying, they're all best friends again now.
Of course they are.
Which I found quite funny.
Of course they are.
I mean, of course they are when Daddy's paying the bills. And 1-on-1.
So Schumacher was ahead of Mazepin. Schumacher had his issue in the pits. Mazepin had his issue when he ran out of talent and nearly hit the wall and had to reverse on track. And then somehow, I'm not sure how, but I think Mazepin got a better start at the restart and got ahead of Schumacher again. I didn't see it, but then when we came round to
we were too busy watching in the front at the back.
Yeah, funny that. And then when it got to the end of the race, the final turn, Mazepin had an issue where basically he was derating. He'd used all his energy up, and then he got onto the final straight, and then he had no battery power left, so he was just losing lots of top speed. So Schumacher was approaching him probably 20, 30 mile an hour quicker than him, and he had easily enough time to drive round him before the line. So, excuse me. So he's coming up behind him. He pulls out to go past him, and then Mazepin basically jinks towards him and goes back again. And Schumacher almost went into the wall because he was so close to him at the time. And Schumacher just went absolutely off his rocker about it. I'm not surprised. It was hideous.
I really don't blame him. I mean, the guy's a knob.
I mean, we're not quite onto McLaren yet. There are a couple more up, but for Lando Norris to get that grid penalty, which I agree with. Okay, I agree with Lando Norris getting a 3-place grid penalty for his red flag infringement in qualifying. I agree with it because it's a safety issue, and he came off and then he accelerated down the straight. He had an opportunity to go in. Yes, it's a mistake. It was not, the intention was not to gain an advantage.
There was no advantage to be gained.
Yeah, he was just confused and he made a mistake, but it still warranted a penalty. That got 3 penalty points on his licence.
Can I question something? Because they called him in, and he should have, and it was a red flag, but he did an extra lap. I'm guessing that doesn't count to a lap total.
Well, no, because that was
all he does is an extra lap for free.
Well, that was in qualifying, wasn't in the race, was it? That was in qualifying.
Was it?
Norris's penalty was because of a qualifying infringement. When the red flag came out in qualifying, he then carried back round again.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry, apologies. I forgot it's in qualifying.
But it's a valid point though, because Latifi would have done an extra lap. Yeah, because he didn't come in on the red flag, so he would have done an extra lap. So I'm not sure what happens with that. That's what I'm trying to find out about.
It's just an extra lap.
Who knows? Yeah, so that's Haas. That's Haas. Alfa Romeo. Yep, next. Again, you know my feelings on Alfa Romeo.
I mean,
Giovinazzi did well, but considering that
he did all right, didn't he?
Yeah, what he got
a point.
He got a point. But let's see, who did he beat? Bottas. Okay, fair enough. And the Hasses, and then everyone else had problems. So they only beat one car, and that car had an absolute shocker. You know my feelings on Alfa Romeo. You know my feelings on Raikkonen and Giovinazzi. Giovinazzi did really well, given that he started last because he crashed in qualifying. That's the best thing. So he did really well to undo some of his shitness.
Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah, great. So Raikkonen got a point. Whoop-de freaking do. Yeah, so now he's level with Giovinazzi on points. They've both got 1. Again, don't care. Moving on. McLaren. Slightly better from Ricciardo, I thought. He was... Norris got a bad start. He was battling with Norris.
Sorry, slightly better from Ricciardo. You
slightly better.
That.
Not a lot.
You say that, but look where he is.
Yeah, I mean, I know.
And if you're going on about
he's only beaten
the
Alphas
and the Alphas.
Yeah, but where were the Alphas in Monaco and where's Ricciardo?
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, so he has beaten the Alphas at least. That's what I mean. He's now at the back of that fight.
I suppose the Alphas have got okay drivers, and it's a bit of a rubbish car.
Well, they've got a better Ferrari engine than they had last year, and they've currently got flexi wings, which they're about to lose. But yeah, I mean better, but still not great, considering that he was side by side with Norris on lap 2, and then Norris has finished 5th, and he's finished. What did he finish? 9th. Yeah. So it's still not great, but it's slightly better. It's a points finish again.
I think he could have done better. I feel there's a lot of little niggles he had.
McLaren have still got the most points finishes over the season.
Well, then Mr. Norris is the only racer
to have got points in every race.
Who's got points in every race.
Yeah, he's now got the longest point streak in Formula 1 history. Well, no, in current Formula 1. Because Hamilton didn't finish.
In this season's
No, like currently, he has now got the longest point scoring streak in Formula 1. Because the current ongoing one.
Season.
Because he scored in every race this year and scored in the last few last year, whereas nobody has scored in every race this season apart from Norris. So he now has the longest point scoring streak currently in existence.
I mean, he had a good race, but Norris's race wasn't amazing either. I think he was slightly lucky with where he got to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
But when you look at it, he finished just behind. He's finished on the road just behind the guy who started on pole.
Yeah.
If you look at it that way, that's a pretty decent return.
Yeah, but then let's be honest. Had he not finished, had Hamilton, Verstappen, and even Stroll actually carried on competing in that race, I think he would have been 8th, 9th.
Well, let's see. So he started 9th. So he started
I think he would have stayed there.
He started behind Alonso. Alonso had a storming race, and yet he still beat him. He started behind Tsunoda. He finished ahead of him. He started behind Carlos Sainz, finished ahead of him. So they're the people that finished that he's moved. So he's moved ahead of 3 people that he started behind and benefited from a couple of mistakes. It's a decent return when you look at it that way. Annoyingly, I had this realization when I went up to bed at like half midnight when I finally finished watching the race, and you can tell I'm not bitter about this. And
what were you doing again?
It just I was doing a rehearsal for Wedding Singer, and then we had drinks afterwards.
Which is on anyway, Crowthorne.
Yeah.
Safford Park.
Safford Park in Bracknell. The Wedding Singer. Come and get your tickets. saffordpark.org.uk.
In September?
In September, yes. September 25th. 23rd to 25th. Anyway.
Gotta be in England more than I'll be in Ireland that month.
Good. Anyway, so I had a realisation. I think Norris would have been second had he not had his grid penalty.
What are you on about?
Well, if you think about it, he got a bad start. Okay, now he may have got a bad start anyway from where he was, but if he started where he qualified, what was his qualifying position? Bear with me 2 seconds. He qualified in 6th. Okay, so Sainz made a mistake and dropped out of the order. He finished ahead of Gasly. Verstappen didn't finish. Hamilton didn't finish, or didn't finish properly, and Leclerc finished behind him. So everyone that he would have started behind without the grid penalty, he finished ahead of, apart from Gasly. Mm-hmm. So potentially he could have been second.
Okay.
It's a possibility. And then he would have been fighting with Vettel. But I mean, it's a possibility. I mean, it may not have done. As it was, he was stuck behind.
That's the thing. There's an alternate universe which is playing that game.
Yeah. But equally, there's another alternate universe where him and Ricciardo came together on lap 2 and McLaren got no points. So I'm just glad we're not in that universe. Yeah.
That
I think
that's familiar.
Yeah.
What happened there? Anyway.
Ferrari. Carlos Sainz, disappointing, 8th.
The greatest reverses, aren't they?
Oh my God! That was. I can't believe that wasn't looked at. I can't believe that wasn't investigated when he backed back onto the track and then Giovinazzi nearly hit him. I can't believe that wasn't investigated. That is dangerous.
I mean, they've just gone backwards in every sense. Literally on the track, doing naughty things.
Well, they were never going to be good at this track. Anyone who predicted that they would be good at this track needs their head examining. Hello, Laura.
Have you seen all Laura's comments?
No, I haven't actually. When you talk about Norris, or I'll get louder than Egypt. Yeah. Very good. Right. They. I think Leclerc, best case scenario was a podium at the end of that, and he almost got it. He was ahead of Gasly on the last lap, but Gasly got him back.
Hang on, he should have. I don't know. Obviously, they're playing the Bottas game of just get high up in qualifying and then work out what to do after that.
Yeah, I mean, they never had the pace for it. They went for a 1 lap setup to try and, I think
that's going to be with them now the whole time. I think we'd expect them to be high up qualifying and then they slowly fall back.
Yeah, I think they're going to be a decent qualifier and then they'll fall back in the races. McLaren will have the race pace on them, but they'll fight with them in the qualifying. Yeah. So, it's going to be tough for them. But AlphaTauri next, very high. Tsunoda.
Go on.
Tsunoda didn't do badly.
Shut up!
Yeah, I mean, told his engineer to shut up, which is a bit rude, but, whatever.
Shut up! That just makes me laugh every time.
Gasly, I'm finding it very difficult to maintain my I don't rate Pierre Gasly stance, because that was a solid drive. That was a really solid drive. I don't know if it's the car or if he is actually that good.
I think he is actually that good. I think he's got a decent car under him now. Yeah. They're now the sister team as opposed to the baby team.
Yeah, they've been squandering points all season. This is where they should be. Not like finishing position wise. I mean, in relation to those who didn't finish, this is where they should be. They should be, with the Aston Martins, Ferraris, McLarens, and Alpines all fighting in that.
And I think they are. And I think Tsunoda's getting hold of the car now.
Yeah. I mean,
Gasly,
he is a rookie. Like a raw rookie, so he's going to take a while. He's going to take
he doesn't know half the tracks. He doesn't know. Yeah. I mean, he's never driven Monaco last.
Yeah. He's never driven Baku.
No, he's never driven Baku.
No, because it wasn't in F2 last year because it didn't run. So
I mean, fair play on him. Like if he's never driven them, and apart from a simulator, fuck that, So I think, and Gasly, I think he is big nipples, as Laura calls him.
What?
Big nipples.
Okay.
Have you not seen Drive to Survive?
I need context. Why have we gone silent? Corner. Hi, live stream. This won't be in the podcast. Hydrate and go.
I need to find a better picture. That's a rubbish picture.
You're going to have to send it to me in the chat. I hope you're enjoying this live stream.
Yeah, it's very boring. I'm sorry. I cannot actually find it.
Okay.
I'm sure Laura will send me the picture because she's quite good at finding these.
Send it to me on WhatsApp later. Sorry about that, everyone. We were just... Yeah.
Hang on.
That's the podcast gone down the toilet.
I mean, fair. I'm sorry for this. Like, I'm saying you the chat now.
I'm moving on. Just send it to me in WhatsApp. It's fine. Fair. Right. So, moving on from AlphaTauri, who's next? It's McLaren. We cover Ferrari. So that's it. That's everyone. Because Alpine we've covered, McLaren we covered, Ferrari we covered, and Aston Martin and Red Bull we covered. So,
if you do, I can't share the screen. Rubbish.
It's all right. I'll stop sharing so you can. Go on then. Share the screen. So this is for the YouTube.
It's for the YouTube. I've got to make sure I've got that picture up. Then hang on. Oh, this has not gone well again. This has not gone well.
We're hemorrhaging viewers by the second. No pressure.
This has not gone well. I mean, it's not going to be anything. And you're going to be looking at it just going, what the hell? Oh, what am I showing you? There we go.
I'm just seeing a blank screen at the moment.
What? You were showing the screen.
There you go. Okay, it's a picture of Pierre Gasly sunbathing.
With huge nipples! The man has the world's biggest nipples!
Great. Okay, I'm really glad we waited for that.
Look at them!
Okay.
They're huge!
Well, that wasn't worth waiting for.
He's almost disabled with those big nipples.
Right, I'm moving on. So, with AlphaTauri... I can't
remember why I was even talking about it.
You were talking about Pierre Gasly's nipples.
So I can't remember why.
Now we've covered AlphaTauri, that covers everyone. So, if we have a look at the standings, that doesn't do anything for the top two, with Max Verstappen still on 105 points and Lewis Hamilton on 101. Sergio Perez is now displaced Lando Norris on 69. Lando Norris is now 4th for 66. Charles Leclerc 52. Valtteri Bottas down to 6th place with 47. Carlos Sainz 42. Pierre Gasly 31. Vettel up to 28. Ricciardo 26. Alonso 13. Ocon 12. So Alonso's moved ahead of Ocon now. That's interesting.
How's that happened? Oh, yeah, because he wasn't in the race, because he retired.
6th place, yeah. Lance Stroll, 9 points. So, yeah, he's getting his ass handed to him now. He's 19 points behind Vettel. Tsunoda, 8 points. Raikkonen, 1 point. Giovinazzi, 1 point. And everyone else, 0. It's annoying, actually, because I was on Grid Talk on Saturday, and I had a bold prediction lined up, and they never asked what the bold predictions were. George, if you're still in the chat, I've got a bone to pick with you. Steph didn't ask the bold predictions. My bold prediction was a driver who currently has no points will have at least 1 point at the end of the race. Kimi Raikkonen now has a point. I thank you. However,
it's a great thing. It's a great thing.
Yeah, however, in my predictions, I did also say that Max Verstappen would be the second retirement and Sergio Perez would be the first retirement. That didn't happen. I was close, though. I was close with Verstappen. Constructors, 174 points now, Red Bull lead. Mercedes with 148, so a bit of a gap opening up there. Ferrari 94, McLaren 92, so Ferrari ahead of McLaren now. AlphaTauri up to 4th for 39, Aston Martin 37. Alpine 25, so that's a nice little fight there. 5th, 6th and 7th all close together, and then 3rd and 4th just a little bit further up out of the way. Alfa Romeo on their own in 8th, and then you've got Haas now ahead of Williams due to that 13th place. So what does that do for our predictions? How do you think we did?
0 points, 0 points.
Well, our guest predictor from last week, Jack Benyon, got a grand total of 0 points. I got a grand total of 0 points, and you got a grand total of 0 points.
Maybe we need to rethink these prediction leagues because we're not doing that well.
We're not. So far, out of 6 races, you got 2 points and I've got 4. And the guest predictor's got 3.
Wow.
And the guest predictor hasn't he done 4 races?
I like the idea that we aren't getting them all spot on, and it's more interesting.
Yeah, it's fine.
That we're not just predicting 1, 2, 3, which is always Hamilton, Bottas.
I have a question.
Verstappen, Bottas. But
I have a question for you, Carl.
Driver of the day.
No, we all know it's Vettel.
Vettel.
Is there anyone else?
Any other honourable mentions?
No. Tsunoda possibly. Gasly possibly.
Anyone on the podium? How can you not say Perez managing that issue as well? Whether he knew much about it, I'm not sure.
I don't think he knew anything about it.
Kimi Raikkonen for scoring a point. No, he'd be stupid.
Yeah, Kimi Raikkonen for scoring a point.
Yeah. No, I'm happy to go with Vettel. Vettel makes sense to me.
I mean, that's really the only one that's really there.
I'm calling it. It's Vettel. So, next question.
Who's our dick of the day?
This is a hard one. There's Lewis Hamilton because he pressed the button and that was quite dickish. That was a stupid dick move. Okay, granted. There's Toto Wolff because Toto Wolff's just being a dick at the moment.
Yep.
There's Mazepin because Mazepin's being a dick at the moment.
Yep.
There's the Red Bull racing team for Perez for holding him in the pits for that second longer than they needed to. That's quite dickish.
It's contentious, though. They can't say for certain.
There is Pirelli.
They said it was debris.
Yeah. Lies!
They've said they found cuts on the tyres, and there was also a cut on Hamilton's
they
tyre.
found a cut on Hamilton's tyre as well.
Again,
do you literally lap up anything that's on the internet?
No, I'm just saying.
Are you a Trump supporter in disguise?
I'm just saying. I'm trying to make Formula One great again.
You went up my nose.
So, based on those nominations there, I agree with all of them. But what I will say is Red Bull holding Perez is contentious, can't be proven. Pirelli, God, if you're dying, just mute yourself. Thank you. So, Red Bull holding Perez is contentious.
I couldn't actually breathe because there was still drunk up my nose. I needed to have a big snort to get it back. Anyway, on that note.
Nice. Red Bull holding Perez was contentious. Can't be certain. And
Pirelli's tyres contentious because they found slits and things.
Yeah. Well, they've said that it was because of that. Hamilton, he made an error, which was a dickish error, but it's not like he blamed the team. He came straight out and said, "I'm really sorry," and they said that's fine.
To be fair on Pirelli, though, I think they should have just gone, let's be honest, lads, you all went for the really long, hard tyre idea, and they weren't designed for that.
Well, the guidance Pirelli gave was you could do about 40 laps on those tyres, and both, was it Verstappen, when did he go out? Lap 41.
Okay.
And he also did...
And he didn't change tyres on that one.
He did like 10 laps on them, and Stroll went out lap 31, so they hadn't hit. And both tyres still had wear on them. They weren't worn out.
What is interesting...
They still had tread.
Okay, so you've just said Thingy Bob was on 31, and Stroll was on 31, and Hamilton was on 41, or 42, roughly, and he'd done...
Verstappen, you mean?
Verstappen, sorry. Verstappen was on 41, and he's done 10 or 11.
Yeah, so it's roughly
laps
30 laps.
So 30 laps. So
roughly,
there's obviously an issue there.
Yeah, again, it's not the loaded tyre on that track. You know, it's not the tyre that takes the most punishment. So I'd be surprised. I think what it is, but given that it was the left tyre, and it's also the left tyre on Hamilton's tyre that's got the alleged slice in it, I think there's something on that track that cuts into the tyres at a certain point that only cuts into the tyres. Yeah, if you hit a certain point of the track that isn't on the racing line, and at some point during the race, those three cars took that line for some reason, and as a result, that's what's caused that accident. I think that's what's happened.
Which is probably the fastest line.
Well, no, because it would have happened earlier.
Because
it would have happened earlier because if they'd have kept doing it, and then it would have happened earlier, I think. But either way, I think.
But then if it's literally just a scuff that's taking them out every time,
possibly,
your tire's going over it, and if you're going over it,
but they're the only three. They're the only three that have done it.
But
so
they're the only
really
three that possibly could be doing a line. I mean, Stroll was going very fast. He was doing fast-ish laps.
Yeah, but no quicker than anyone else. He was just going long on those tyres, wasn't he? I think. We're not going to know. I mean, hopefully there should be a report before Paul Ricard, which frankly will probably be more interesting than the race. Because Paul Ricard's a terrible track. It's difficult to say. I'll look to see what the report says. But back to Dick of the Day, I think for me it's between Toto Wolff and Nikita Mazepin, because everything else is contentious, and those two were definitely dicks.
I can't give it to Mazepin, surely.
Why not?
Maybe again.
I think because
it's just like
Toto is just
another dollar.
Toto is just being a dick in general at the moment. Whereas there was nothing.
The day. No,
I mean,
Toto didn't actually do anything dickish that day.
I mean, he called Horner a windbag, which frankly should be applauded, because he is a windbag. But the fact he said it on telly though is. Slightly iffy. But I think we give it to Mazepin.
Oh, once again.
Doesn't mean he has to be... He's only been Dick of the Weekend once.
All right.
And that was after Portuguese Grand Prix.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. So that's Driver and Dick of the Day. Is there anything else? We've done predictions. We've done standings. We've done talking points. We can move on to F2, unless you want anything you want to talk about in F1. Time is getting on.
No, we're all good. Let's get on to F2.
Excellent. I'm running out of
water. Which I haven't watched, so I've got no idea what the fuck's going on.
Okay. So what I'm going to try and do with the F2, I've written my race reviews for this. I've got a 1 minute sound effect. I've not timed these, so I don't know if they're going to fit into the 1 minute time limit. But I'm going to try.
3 races, haven't we, with this?
Yeah, I'm going to try and fit them into my 1 minute. Minutes to win it. So, and I also wrote these 3 days ago, and I haven't read them since, so I'm probably going to be tripping over my words loads as well. But there we go. So here we go. Schwartzman starting from reverse rear pole for Sprint Race 1, having qualified 10th in Baku for Sprint Race 1 and needed a strong weekend to kickstart his season. Support races in Baku normally equal craziness, so the promise of for 3 races in F2 in Baku was frankly mouthwatering. Aitken got spun around and stalled going into turn 1, and Liam Lawson similarly got tagged and had a low speed bump into the wall at turn 2. I waxed lyrical last time out at Monaco about how good the marshals were. Well, spoiler alert, I doubt I'll be mentioning them in such high praise in Baku, as marshals just don't even compare. Alessio De Leda spun off at turn 2, but no one cares about the Monaco dick of the day. The safety car was deployed while headless chickens in orange jumpsuits did their thing, running around in circles. Piastri was next to retire after damage from contact with Liam Lawson's reared its ugly head, and making that 4 retirements from contact in the first 2 corners. This left Deruvela, Zhou, Armstrong competing for the top 4. I'm not going to do this. No way.
Not at all. Sound like it's going underwater.
Yeah, that's quick. Vip's passing Pourchaire was the only mover at the restart, with Schwartzman leaving it until as late as possible to go, which seemed a sensible move to make. Ticktum made a tidy overtake to take 5th from Boschong and set after Armstrong, with Schwartzman pulling 3 seconds clear of Deruvela. The next lap, Ticktum made another pass on Armstrong to take 4th, and Pourchaire slipped past Vips for 7th. It took Ticktum 3 laps to catch and pass his Carlin teammate Deruvela, with a mature performance from Dan with 10 laps to go. He made short work of Zhou, who was causing a bit of a train behind him. Ticktum was now second with just over 4-second gap to Schwartzman, who looked untouchable up front. He quickly broke the DRS from Zhou, but was not making any inroads in Schwartzman's lead. Ticktum and Schwartzman kept swapping fastest laps, with Pourchaire eventually taking a bonus point. But apart from the late swap between Pourchaire and Boschong, the action was sparse to say the least. Schwartzman won from Ticktum and Zhou. Ticktum's... Thank God for Ticktum, because that would have been a horrendous race had it not been for him. Couple of crashes on lap 1,
isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's much more mature drive from him.
So what was going on with the marshals?
Oh, they're just not very good. I expected to see them like making loads of mistakes and things, but to be fair, it was a start of the weekend. They were a bit pants, and after that, they were all right.
Yeah, they didn't seem to do too bad a job.
Yeah, they were fine in the F1, to be fair. I was expecting them to be like a running commentary throughout the whole weekend, but it wasn't. As you can see, because I wrote that first review on Saturday morning, and I don't mention them again after that. I don't rate Zhou. It's his 3rd season in F2. I know he's leading the championship, but he's nothing special. It's his 3rd year. He should be destroying these guys now. He shouldn't be like fighting for the championship.
Let's be honest, he's a waste of a seat because he's not going up to Formula 1.
Well, he's in the Alpine Young Driver program, so he's technically like the lead
in
driver.
In the world of Swapperoos, where in one world where Ocon goes into where Bottas leaves and Ocon goes into that Mercedes seat, then that's the only way he's really going to find his way in. Yeah,
unless what I think might happen is I think Renault might be buying into the Alpha team in some capacity.
That's what I was just about to say. Unless there's an Alpha team,
but
that's either way, there's a Scuderia in there. You're not Scuderia. It's what's his name? What's the company? The racing team, not Alpha. Who runs Alfa Romeo?
Sauber.
So there's a Sauber seat and there's a Ferrari seat in there at the moment, isn't there?
Yeah, but Ferrari won't be involved if Renault get involved.
No, so Renault would buy out Ferrari's seat.
Well, yeah.
Giovinazzi sits in Giovinazzi there, but
so
with
Giovinazzi
Sauber.
Be gone.
No, I reckon Raikkonen owns part of Sauber.
He doesn't own part of Sauber, I don't think.
Yeah, he does. Raikkonen is part owner of Sauber.
But equally, I don't think Raikkonen's going to be racing next year.
No, he'll give up.
And frankly, I hope he isn't, because it is a waste of a seat and it's keeping a young driver out of Formula 1. So I hope he doesn't. It was all simple overtakes, nothing side by side. Only action was in lap 1 apart from DRS. So, which kind of defines my my issue with F2 really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the second sprint race, I'm not going to do the timer. I don't think.
I forgot there's 3 of these.
Yeah, there's 3 of them.
He brought part in 2018.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. That's when he went there, wasn't it? But yeah, I hope he doesn't stay. I won't do the timer for this because I'm just looking at how many words there are. It's going to be too long for the minute. So I'll do that for next time. I'll start to plan my reviews to be under a minute for each sprint race. So F2's 100th race since the rebranding of GP2 promised more than the 99th, with there being no consequences for a bad result in Sprint 2. apart from the points loss, obviously, as the Sunday feature race will be taking the starting positions from Friday qualifying. Viscal led the way ahead of Beckman after their 10th and 9th place finishes in Sprint 1 with the top 10. Lots of wheel spin and tyre smoke at the start, and turn 1, and we see the championship leader Zhou spinning Tictum round. Beckman went round the outside at turn 3 to hold the inside line for turn 4.
Round the outside.
I thought of that when I wrote that, and take the lead. Safety car was then deployed for the turn 1 incident, with Schwartzman taking a few spots at the start to put him in a good spot in 6th. Deruvala passed Vips at the restart, and Pourchaire peeled off to change his front wing, leaving a lot of the main title protagonists out or at the back. Vips repassed Deruvala and Viscal to climb to 2nd, with Beckman already out of DRS range. Lap 6 and the Williams test driver and potential Russell replacement, Roy Nissany, went up the back of Richard Verschoor and put him into the wall. Roy was on the radio saying how early Verschoor braked. Future Tsunoda was at fault, in my opinion. Tictum, despite being...
The future Tsunoda,
yeah.
The future Russell, wow.
Yeah. So, Roy Nissany is future Tsunoda, i.e. Mr. Crashgate. Tictum, despite being last, had shown great pace and racecraft to climb to 10th and was looking to reduce the damage Zhou caused to him in lap 1. Viscal nailed Vips and Lundgaard and snatched 7th from Drugovich before getting spun into the wall at turn 1. Armstrong also completely outbraked himself and went head-on into the wall, causing a virtual safety car this time. Tictum now up to 7th and Lawson 6th after starting 20th. 10 laps to go, and Vips took the lead from Beckman, who instantly fell over a second behind, allowing Vips to pull away from DRS. Lawson seemed to lose drive for a second, allowing Tictum and Piastri through, but his pace then stabilised and he retook Piastri the next lap. Everyone seemed to take a sensible pill and it calmed down for the last few laps, and everyone maintained their position. Vips won from Beckman, Deruvala and Viscal. And so far, for both races, my driver of the day for these 2 races is Dan Tictum. He's had 2 solid races there. I know.
Is it just that he hasn't fucked up? Is that what's happened?
Well, there's another race to come yet. Give it time.
Spoiler alert!
Spoiler alert. Yeah, I mean, I reckon they were like they seem to be too scared to put a safety car out, because every time there was a safety car, there was a crash. So they just started running behind the virtual safety car. I can see Vips getting a chance at AlphaTauri, because Vips has definitely got some stuff there. He's Red Bull. He's on a Red Bull program. I think if Tsunoda doesn't work out, or Gasly leaves, or Perez leaves, then I reckon you might see Vips in an AlphaTauri potentially next year or the year after.
Wonder why. Yeah, I'm intrigued by all these moves. I think silly season, when it starts this year at Christmas time, will be really interesting.
Yeah. I think what I want to do is I want to look at all the young driver program graduates at the moment. I want to see like who's gone through each driver program and who's in the grid now and who's coming through, and just see where everyone is. And I think that's going to be something potentially for next week, because next week we've only got we've got IndyCar, so we might do a bit of a newsy bit next week. We just got the Detroit doubleheader next week, so we might maybe do like a little bit of something. Just like a little kind of newsy feature or something. I don't know. We'll get someone on. I don't know. Oh, hello, Cat. Move out the way, Leo. Go. Right, he's gone. Cool. Right, so we just got one more race to go through, which was the F2 feature race. So Zhou still led the title fight on 78 points, but the fight from 2nd to 4th was just 3 points between Lawson, Pourchaire, and Tictum, and Schwartzman all gunning to cut into Zhou's lead. But with go away, cats. But with a north of 20 points deficit, it would be a big swing to change things this weekend at least. The grid saw Lawson lead Vips on the front row, with Zhou in 8th and Schwartzman in 10th. The feature race start was aborted because Jack Aitken and Matteo Nannini stalled on the line and got pushed into the pits and had to start at the back. Nannini obviously returning from his F3 doubleheader. The second start saw Vips take the lead from his teammate at turn 1, then Armstrong again into the wall, and at turn 2 with Pourchaire off at the same time down the escape road. Tictum, who was also involved in the incident, had to pit for a new front wing, but this would not count as his mandatory pit stop. And he also got a 10-second penalty as he was blamed for the incident. I think it was a bit 50-50, to be honest. It was 3 cars going into one corner. It was like, I think it was turn 4. Tictum came from a long way back, but the other 2 cars were always going to collide. I think it was a bit harsh. I think racing incident or 5-second penalty at best. But I think
Oh, I've lost Tom. I wonder if this is my live feed or whether it's Tom's feed. This is always interesting.
It was a little bit harsh. Lawson and Piastri battle for second.
Ooh,
I'm just going to hold
Tom's
for a moment.
Back. Tom's back.
I never lost you. I heard you the whole time.
Even though I was talking about losing you.
Yeah, I stopped because you were talking about losing me.
Oh, I lost you. I wonder what happened on the live feed.
Well, I'll find out. I'll have a watch of it. Anyway, I'll go back to where I was. Where were we? There we are. Lawson and Piastri battled for second, turn after turn, with Lawson reclaiming the place he lost on lap 1. Lawson's race was ruined by a 10-second penalty for aggressive defending on lap 1, while Schwartzman and Beckman made on-track passes. Vips was first in on lap 6, with Zhou following him in. Verschoor rear-ended Viscal to spin him round at turn 1. They both continued, but were out of contention. Verschoor, who was rear-ended in the previous race by... you're right there, you having fun? Verschoor was...
now.
Verschoor was the one who
gets me. Fuck knows what it's like watching it.
Verschoor was the one that was rear-ended by Nissany in the previous race, and he ended up rear-ending someone in the same place in this race. After the first run of stops, Piastri jumped Vips, but Vips retook him on warmer tyres. I don't know why I put that in there. I'll cut that out next time. Crazy moves everywhere with half the grid on warm or old tyres and with others on cold tyres. And when it all settled down, Tictum led but would have to make a second stop later on. A well-timed safety car would put him back into contention though. The return of Dick Tantrum up front when his engineer told him about his 10-second penalty, and he had a bit of a rant on the radio. And Piastri in a net second got 5-second penalty for unsafe release, so a busy day for the stewards all round. Zhou was moaning about his race pace, and his engineer told him to get on with it. And he was sitting in 13th place. Tictum made his final stop and dropped to 11th with fresh tyres, and could have still had an impact on the race if there was a safety car, but there was no safety car. He managed a few good overtakes and climbed to 8th, but Vips won from Piastri and Schwartzman in his best weekend of the year. So for that one, I think Vips was probably the driver of the day. I think Armstrong was probably my dick of the weekend, and probably Tictum overall was my driver of the weekend, because even though he had a bit of a bitch, he still had a decent race in race 3. So I will go with Tictum and Armstrong, because Armstrong is just like, he seemed to be every bit as good as Schwartzman and Schumacher, but now he's just nowhere, and he's part of that driver academy. So I'm just a bit disappointed with him, to be honest. The cat is rubbing against the microphone. That's what that noise is, by the way.
Hello. Yeah. So it is what it is on that one. I didn't see the races, so I can't really comment on them.
No, that's fair enough.
Sorry. I feel a bit vague here, but I'm just a bit like, I have no idea what really happened apart from your race review.
But that's the FD. So I think I'm going to try and mix up the format a little bit of this, because it's just a bit boring me just doing 3 race reviews every week. So I'll try and think of a way of making that a bit more engaging for next time around.
This is part of the problem, and then we're going to have the same with Formula 3. Happens.
We've not got another F2 race until 16th of July.
When does W Series start?
It's soon.
Jesus Christ.
It's yes, because Jamie Chadwick's involved in W Series, obviously.
Yes.
So the first W Series race.
Speak to Ian, as Jamie is obviously a very, very nice person.
Yeah.
That gives away awards.
Yeah. See if you can give it away on this podcast.
Yeah.
That sounded wrong. So we've got
give it away now.
So
anyway,
I don't know how this affects, because I'll have to check on the website, but because of the whole rearranging of the episodes in Austria, because of the rearranging of the races, it looks like W Series starts in Austria 1 and then continues in Austria 2. So it looks like W Series and F3 are going to do, F3 are going to do 6 races in Austria.
Oh dear
and then
God!
W Series,
bad enough with 3 races in the same place, let alone 6.
Yeah, it's going to be It's going to be like a third of their season in one racetrack.
We've just got to rethink this 3.
Yeah, we'll have a look at that.
There's only so much we can do.
So yeah, we've got W Series starting in a couple of weeks.
That sounds like we've got time to even think about these things.
Yeah. Well, we've only got one race.
So sorry that right for the next 10 weeks, 8 weeks now. I think this podcast is going to be a bit ramshackled at the moment.
Just the next 10 weeks. It's been like that for the last 10 months.
Yeah, but at least I was sort of more in the room. I haven't been in the room, and it's sort of all a bit mad at the moment with our work schedules and our life schedules.
Yes. But I've got some annual leave coming up this week because I'm supposed to be on my honeymoon. So I've got a few days off.
Oh, yeah. How's that?
So, yeah, it's going to be great.
Well, actually, hang on. So was this the one I was meant to have done live on my own? No.
No, that's the next one. It was supposed to be France.
Oh, thank God for that.
Yeah, but I can make all the podcasts now. But Laura's still welcome to come on because I know she was going to come on for the French Grand Prix. She still can if she wants to.
Laura, are you coming on for Frenchie? That might just depending on the kids. And
Jesus Christ, Darren! Darren said need to follow Britain's FAA Formula 4. I'm sorry, but okay. What time is it? Okay, it's 10 o'clock. It's 10 o'clock. Fuck right off. We're not covering FIA Formula 4 as well.
What is going on here? Hey, your feed dropped out. There we go. Darren said it was Tom's feed.
Well, okay. This cat is being really... Look at him.
What I seem to do is you seem to be just moving this cat from one side to the other.
Yeah, I'm just going to hold him here.
Darren, if you were to come on and talk about Formula 4,
yeah,
my guest, but I think this would be the longest podcast in the world if we start.
Well, we've already done... We're vastly approaching 2 hours, and I don't want this podcast to go over 2 hours, so we should probably wrap it up fairly soon.
Yeah, there is a load of chuff you can cut out of this, including my 20 minutes where I looked for Pierre Gasly's nipples.
Yeah, but I'll leave that bit in just for context, just so people can be like, what? Anyway,
no, don't. Just cut it out.
I'll cut it out, but I'll just leave that little bit where you say about talking about Pierre Gasly's nipples. That'd be quite funny.
Right, talking about
I'll just quickly go into the standings. So Guan Yu Zhou leads the standings on 78 points, and Piastri now has closed right up on 73. Good. I do not want Zhou to win the championship. Schwartzman finally gets into the championship fight now with 66, and Vips on 63.
Never Schwartzman.
And then Ticktum is on 60 points, 18 points behind there. So Pocher, the outsider on 55. Then you've got Deruva and Lawson, 53 and 50. I think those 8 are the ones that we need to be looking at. We're not even halfway through yet. We've got 3 rounds in Silverstone, and then we're at the halfway point in the season. So I think you're looking at those top 8. You've got 8 people there that can still win the championship. As we scroll down, the only ones who have got no points yet, Jack Aitken, but he's only done a couple of rounds. Samaya, but he's rubbish. Petakov, he's only done a couple of rounds, and Deleda, he's rubbish. So, it's quite a nice even spread of points in Formula 2. But, we've got Formula 3 coming up again, so that should be fun.
You know what? I've got a week of night shoots coming up
on
this job.
Fun.
And weirdly, it's the only weekend where I haven't got a race, I think. Weirdly. Oh no, it can't be there.
So we've got Detroit doubleheader coming up this weekend, and then we've got the French Grand Prix after that, a couple of weeks, and then we've got the doubleheader in Austria along with Mid Ohio. But we've also got Formula E on the 20th of June as well, or 19th and 20th. We've got a doubleheader in Mexico, so that's going to be fun.
Oh really? Is it really going to be fun?
It will be. We'll get Charlie back on. We've got to do less work because he can do it all for us.
Oh, yeah, I like having Charlie on. I feel like I missed him for a little while. Where's Charlie?
Yeah. So that's going to be busy though because now they've moved it around. We've got France, IndyCar, and Formula E.
When I'm just looking at this. July 19th.
July 19th, British Grand Prix.
No, so I think it's 20th. Hang on, I've got to look at this now and work out what dates I'm on nights. I'm on nights as of the 20th. Yeah, so weirdly, the only weekend I haven't got, there's no racing. But there is the Olympics.
Oh, well, no one cares about the Olympics.
They do.
Anyway,
start on the 23rd.
Let's go. Let's end this because people aren't really interested anymore.
I'm not interested either. So I'm surprised that we managed to keep Darren.
Seemingly, yeah. We lost George a long time ago.
We lost George.
Yeah.
But supposedly there's 4 now watching. So someone's watching still.
4, wow. Excellent. Right. Let's go. We'll see you all later. Bye.